Hello.
Hi.
All good?
Afternoon, morning, evening.
Afternoon.
Johnny, your punctuality does not go unnoticed.
Yeah, I know. I have no life.
So I have the documents already opened. Maybe I can share my screen today, or we could have Christian do it for the new framework that he wrote for the ladder, right?
Whatever you end up being comfortable with.
Okay. Let's give it a shot. Johnny, I noticed you weren't on the constitutional definitions
Yeah.
call yesterday. Are you okay?
No, it was an intentional move. The first 3 hour meeting one was taken up by a lot of my interrupting with technical butt-ins, and we only got
Mm.
through 2 definitions. So I intentionally decided to remove myself from one of those meetings to see the difference, because there wouldn't
Mhm.
be a way to see the difference between me present and not present without me not being present for one. So I was out of it for yesterday's, but I'll be back for the rest.
Okay, cool. It's very strategic of you, crafty.
I also wanted to make sure people had an experience of getting more done in a meeting so that they didn't get disillusioned by my constant interruption.
Well, I'm sure everything you've been pointing out is relevant.
Yeah, but I can go over the top with it.
It happens. Hey, Sebastian, welcome.
Hi, everybody.
So let's just allow a few more minutes, see if we have more participants joining.
Also, a secondary reason is because I found out in the first meeting that there's going to be a secondary technical review process anyway in the TSC.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, well, then I don't really need to be as present in those meetings because there'll be a secondary review anyway. So give them time to discuss things.
It's one of those things. When we get to the end of the process, we'll be good at the process. Hey, Robin, welcome. Maybe while we wait, we could drop our introductions, like one-liner, on the chat. Robin, all good with you? Anything you want to start with or share? Let's just give it until 5 past. See if Christian joins.
He did mention he was going to be a little bit late.
Okay, thanks.
Currently pinging Maritz, and then Nicholas is online. I don't know if he's able to make it in.
Yeah, I was looking at the meeting notes and yeah, recording attendance should be interesting to see. You know, long term when we need to. One of the things I wanted to ask later today is about like making all the lines, the budget items that we have, like making them come true. It's going to require us spreading out and imagine coordinating things, taking the lead on some things. So we need to make sure we have people that we can rely on, right?
Who's the distributor of money once it's in administrative wallets? The rewards for different projects and contracts, like Intersect MBO as a whole is the administrator, and each of the committees has a wallet. But then who manages? I said, well, I already know that, don't we? Because we know it's like the people in the Cayman Islands or something.
I'm not sure about that.
I believe the multiple wallets was going to be an issue in terms of auditability. even though it should make it easier. I think that was.
It should make it easier because you got categorization and the different sections. Like that's accounting. Why would it be harder? It's on chain. It's a history. You can
More
build a
wallets
model.
is more transaction fees, which is good and
Oh well,
bad.
yeah. Well, that's true, but still,
Right. I'm gonna kick off the screen share.
it might be
and
worth
take
it to
you-
reduce the administrative cost of having to filter out between different things. You know, the more transaction fees might be a false economy to try and reduce if you get better organization from spending those fees.
You know, not to be a staple poster boy, but I think the resolution there is tell your favorite DREP.
Quite. uh,
Okay. So we have like 1 hour today, right? And the goal would be to go through the ask for a developer advocates check-in, but I'm not sure we have any here. So maybe let's park that one. And then contribution ladder, project incubation, acceptance criteria. Try to find some gaps there. And also wanted to share a quick update on this topic, which is the Intersect marketing initiative, how it's been reorganized, or how it is being thought of, just to keep everyone in the loop. So I already have the documents open, and yeah, it would be good to have Christian on the call because he led this one. The contribution ladder was initially done in different format, and we've started sorry, that one. So we started rethinking it, and we have a clean top to bottom approach. Did anyone have time to have a look at it? Maybe I'll drop the link on the chat, and I'll allow like 5 minutes for us to have a look, or in silence for a second. I'll be browsing through it as well. And if there's anything you want to share, just jump in anytime, please.
previously, this was like I think Adam described it as like a research paper for like how stressful it would be to be any one of these things and the challenges in that. So you've got a revised link here with different presentation to go more in line with Adam's request of what it should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that it started. I'm just putting these tabs in order. So we started by doing this, and I think it was a collaborative effort with Gimbal Labs. The guys put together a number of topics here and a number of certain structure. I mean, but also from Christian's side, there was all this already as well. So now what I think the exercise was to rethink the Google Doc into this cleaner one from top to bottom, but inspiring from both of these.
Yeah, and I can see here just scrolling down this, we've got like proper stages and responsibilities, how to stand out, measures for progression. So like more in line with how to go up the ladder rather than how stressful it will be in each section.
I think it's really interesting because this one is more on an individual level, almost as contributors, and we also have the project incubation one, which is completely different thing, but they go side by side. So
Well, the projects would have contribution ladders within them, right? So each one would have its own ladder after being funded. And then there'd be sub-funding underneath that for the people contributing to those projects. Unless, of course, people would contribute to multiple. Then would they be in oh, that's a question. Would they be in different stages of the ladder depending on the project they're in? Or do they just get a blanket role?
I'm just going to allow a few seconds for Christian to join, to catch up with where we are. But maybe that would be a nice question for him. Welcome, Christian.
Hello.
Hello, sorry I'm late.
No worries.
That's okay.
We're already started going over the contribution ladder. but we were just contextualizing a bit how this new Google Doc that you put together is trying to reconcile a bit what you had and contributions from Gimbal Labs side. Johnny, do you want to rephrase your question for a second?
Yeah. So there was a process for getting projects to be funded, and then there'd be a contribution ladder within each individual project, correct? It's like per project basis, or is it an overall status of a person within the entire ecosystem across all projects where they are in the ladder? Could a person be in multiple projects at different points on the ladder?
Yeah, so given the complexity with different projects, I just wanted to give like a general framework, and the projects can adapt it to how they use. But this general framework will solidify if you wanted to apply it across the board. The idea is the only thing that you'd have to change is the different acceptance criteria, because someone doing Node or Plutus would be different, is kind of my reference example. So, I mean, that's kind of the idea there. But
I know where you have your text. Sorry, has his hand up. But yes, what were you going to say?
Yes.
I was just going to say, I think we can definitely institute something across all the Intersect projects. But if we were to do projects outside of Intersect, we might need something. We can't necessarily enforce it, but have them adapt it to their use case, maybe something like that. I want to respect somewhat of project autonomy, because that's kind of what the philosophy of the governance policy was. And we were only going to force core Cardano to adopt it as a best practice reference point.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Tex?
Yeah, mine was just a note. We do have a 50% quorum right now, but I would hold any voting unless we have another OSC member. We're trying to pull Christian back a little bit, even though that'll be official at the April elections. But then the other side of that is that we can, of course, run the vote for approval if you guys are ready for that asynchronously in the chat. I know some of you guys have fallen out there, so I can put that or get a channel going on Discord as needed. But we're working
You
that
can
out.
also do group chats within Slack that aren't that'll work. So you could recreate the group as a temporary side group, and I can still access it on a free account until I'm in the organization.
Gotcha.
But yeah,
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it's a closed group, so we could just make it open. I mean, I don't think there's anything controversial.
That's the reason. That's the reason I need premium. Yeah, because it's private.
Yeah, I think we're okay to do that. Technical steering, I guess, is a different question, though.
But yeah, before you came in, Christian, I was looking at this and I was saying, like, compared to the original one, which was more a sort of research paper about how stressful it would be to be in any part of the ladder, this now has specific things about what can you do to stand out, your key responsibilities, how to progress, measurements. So a lot of revising has been done here to be more in line with the ladder that Adam requested, right? So good show.
Yeah, I did tailor this, combining both of the docs. The reason why we have the roles, I think the only discrepancy is some of like the first two roles had a renaming in the research bit of it, and we can change the role names as we see fit. But I want to make sure there's enough of a framework to guide who the target audience is per role, different progression steps, support resources, and then adaption use cases to whatever you need. The more of a suggestion versus a authoritative standpoint. But I think it provides good cadence for us to actually vet people, and provide thought leadership towards that. That's why, like Tex is saying, I'm abstaining from the vote since I revised it. I'll just go with the majority quorum.
Makes sense.
Sorry, guys, I had some issues with my phone, so I had to just switch back to computer. Do you want me to go back to sharing the document? contribution ladder. How do you want to proceed?
Were there any, so with the incubation program and the contribution ladder, were there any key stress points we needed to discuss? Or is everyone kind of comfortable with both of them and then we just test them and revisit after the process?
I don't have anything to eject, to change the complement, so I suggest that I think that's a good idea. Like as you suggested, to test it and to just take it for a spin, see how it fits or requires adjustment from time to time as we go through it with real situations.
Okay.
But
yeah.
you've previously said you've adapted this from an existing standard that exists elsewhere, right? So we're sort of, yeah. So it's
that was the reason I had tried to promote Jurg or Diane into the OSC, just because it's very common to what they've seen in Web 2 practices. So it's already kind of battle tested. We just need to make sure it fits our use case.
Yeah.
Or what the Web 3 world is.
We've essentially forked the standard and we need to update it as we need to.
Yeah. So I think we could put it up to an asynchronous vote, wait till it gets quorum, and then put a practice through with the Emergo project proposals, because I think they're the least risk associated on the incubation piece. And then actually, before we even start that, get the TSC review on the incubation program. Sebastian?
Yeah, hi everybody. Hi guys. I read both documents, the contributor ladder and the incubation. I think, in my opinion, is those both are in good shape to start some implementation. My question is, do you have in mind some next steps to start a first implementation?
My idea, first we got to publish it, or get the majority quorum. Incubation still needs a TSC review. And maybe we can utilize Adam and you, Johnny, to help promote that or educate the TSC. Make sure that they're comfortable with it. And then we do have 2 project incubation proposals that we can run both of these through. Identify where the projects are in their maturity phase, then put them through to the TSC for their review and then adopt them. And then the contribution framework to rate maintainers for those projects.
That's right. I remember asking for that. Can we do like dummy runs of this to make sure that we understand the process and then can explain? Yeah, that would be good. Things that already exist, and then put people on the positions in the ladder and make sure to define things properly and put them in the right status as a project.
Yeah. And then if we're good with this too, I'm going to, next steps post this is also brief the core Cardano teams before we get the budget approved to make sure they're ready for potential mentorship opportunities with the maintainer retainer program, and helping community support there. And then we need to do a nomination process for projects we potentially want to support as well. Something like that.
So those core teams are the ones that you said would be the first tested subjects here, right?
Yeah, the 2 Emergo projects, and then anything on core Cardano is always my guinea pig. So
okay. Yeah, thanks. Making note. Text.
Yeah, as far as the poll or the vote goes, do you guys want to run that as a ratification with potential for future changes as needed, or would you rather run that as a conditional approval to move to test implementation?
I think the second one.
Is there a hybrid where you like it's subject to change following doing a test run?
Well, I think ratification would mean a completed document, so I'm not thinking that that's
I see.
Yeah,
no,
so
we're not fully ratifying yet.
Yeah,
gotta try it.
Okay.
Well,
I just wanted to make sure.
Do it like the SWOT analysis where we prove it as in draft maturity testing, and then final ratification after maybe a month or 2 review process. Because it's definitely something I don't want to rush through by any means.
Can I then put out a separate task to a committee member to kind of write up a quick document on how this works for us, or it, as you've seen the previous meetings and whatnot. Obviously, there's discussion, there's document review, then there's approval / conditional approval, and then ratification. Someone just write up like a quick, even one pager to show how we move through those steps, and we can look at that to be more transparent about our decision making.
What was the order? I'll write it down in chat, screenshot it, and then see what I can do from there. Or do you already have that somewhere?
The full order would be document creation, document review, approval, which you can write as approval, conditional approval, or approval for testing, and then ratification.
Approval / conditional.
I would throw in TSC review before ratification, though. Before we do implementation, we need their viewpoints.
With an asterisk, those certain documents
You
wouldn't require that.
Approval, conditional approval. What was the next one?
TSC review.
Okay. And there was one other approval type.
Ratification.
Just
I think it was approval for testing or something.
that was it. Approval for
Oh,
testing.
yeah, sorry.
This might actually become our standard document review process, potentially, too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. From a transparency perspective, we need to make sure that is open and accessible and relatable. And that way, when we say that something's on the agenda or was done in the meeting, they know what stage that document's in and when they can expect a release, i.e. 2 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever.
I gotta change that order. It wouldn't be approval first.
Okay.
I don't think so. Anyway, would it?
Unless you consider it a 2-tier approval process, OSC, TSC.
Anyway, the order will be discussed, but I've screenshotted that and it will go in the timeline thing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking to have somebody draft that up so that we can deliberate upon it and then validate, so that way we know how we're making our decisions a little bit clearer.
And also in public, even though you got that public timeline of what we're currently reviewing, like you could be able to more granularly say where things are in the process as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, so is that all for the contribution letter?
Sorry, one last thing. Johnny, you know how to create the document in the shared drive?
Oh, I'll just check. I have access. I haven't looked at the folder structure properly. I've just got shared documents in a recent list. Let's see, files, shared drives, open source committee. Do I have right to make a new one?
You should.
Got a little picture of a camera.
So when you're in open source committee,
new doc, yeah.
You go to OSC again, and then I would put this under OSC policies.
Oh, right, yeah. My bad. I was about to make a root folder. Cancel, close.
And then the top left, you can just do new and then Google Doc.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah, I'm on mobile, so it's just a plus. Open source policies, did you say? Where's that?
OSC policies is in.
Yeah, got it.
OSC,
Okay.
OSC, yeah.
And what are we calling this? Approval process?
Just decision-making, document approval.
Document approval timeline.
I wouldn't call it a timeline. Probably a process. Yeah.
Okay. I've created one proposal. Okay.
Cool. Sorry,
Okay.
thanks.
Great stuff. So that's the contribution ladder part. And maybe we can transition to the project incubation. So there, this has been circulated for a while. We initially had this, and there's certainly more notes that Christian could share. But So yeah, so the goal today would be that we get to, I think the word is ratify, right? Yeah, review and ratify. Does anyone have anything to add or share, any feedback on the document overall? And on the process, obviously. I see there's a number of things there still, some notes. Maybe we could go over them and just clear them. And if everyone's happy, we could try to vote on it and ratify it. Make sense? So from the top, as you know, there's the list, the link to that document. And here, maybe I'll just clear this one, right? And, oh, okay, sorry. You had, these were optional, so we should decide between them, right, Tex?
Correct.
Mm. The other one started from here or from here?
It should be the paragraphs. Let me hop in there. Sorry. Project incubation.
How do I go back to
There's an undo button if you want to press that.
where's that? Right there?
Right next, yeah.
Okay. Well, no, that doesn't apply for
Ah,
Hang on. I
those
got it.
things.
I think. There you go.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'll just allow a couple of minutes for us to read through and decide between both.
I know that abandon was changed, wasn't it?
I think we agreed to reword it, yes.
Yeah, let me check what we have on the life
So
cycle.
Archive.
there's
oh,
decline there.
Decline, decline was still decline, but it was archive
Archive.
instead of.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, the life cycle framework, it's now called. Oh, we need to change that too on this. Yeah, we called it archive.
Yeah, okay. So if we stick to this version, we'll reword that one. We still need to
Yeah.
decide between both.
Just need to do our find and replace all.
The first one looks a bit more structured, no?
The first stock?
I think the option that's highlighted now, we're deciding between both of these, right? And I think this one looks a bit more structured.
For reference, I think I might need to update this. I think it's important that this first small paragraph stays.
Okay,
And then I also think it's important that we maybe choose one or two of the 4 words that are in slashes here.
I'm just gonna unhighlight it to make it simpler, easier to read.
Well, it's highlighted because of the comment.
Yes, yeah,
You meant the orange.
No.
You meant the orange, the select rather
I'll-
because I
than.
had the
do-
focus on it. That's why I was too orange.
Purple's nice.
Yeah, I think this one gives us a nice abstract and especially focuses on the process, which is something that people can relate to. And we don't have the sustainable growth and community engagement part up there, do we?
I continuing with my habit of introducing complexity. You got 4 options there: enforced, applied, exercised,
Exactly.
reviewed. How about implemented? Or does that not work?
I think, yeah, it's a good idea. Any thoughts? Thumbs up? Anyone?
I think that works.
Yep.
They're all
Thanks.
synonymous, mostly to me.
Enforce signs more strong. Yeah.
Everyone's good with that first little blurb then?
Yeah. I think this is okay. John, do you want to add the enforced part here, or?
No. I was saying it was a negative thing. I was just observing that enforced. They're not completely synonymous. If one has a connotation of like authoritarian nature rather than just service.
Just to give my opinion between the both, I would also prefer the first one, mainly because I think it's the only place in the document, as far as I see, where you see the transitioning, like how projects move between the stages, and I like reading that. I think that's important to understand early on.
Yeah, I like stages being made clear up front and how things will go in flow. Because if you're reading a document like this, you want to have a picture in your head at the beginning so that you can then get more context for it underneath, already knowing what the overview is. So, like, having that path of how things will work is a good thing to have right away instead of leaving people anticipating trying to understand it.
So you're saying it's like if too long, don't read.
Yeah, well, and you need that option too. If they're trying to choose that they want to go to the incubation, make it as clear as you can up front. Less surprise, the easier life is.
Mm-hmm. You're not going like, did you not read like paragraph 7? It's right there.
I don't want to quote a section number followed by a lowercase letter.
Guys, I would suggest maybe either this part that I have highlighted there, or even all the way to goals. So this part now highlighted almost gray, to be copied between these two paragraphs, because it helps contextualize this. This is what we are, our mandate, let's say. This is our context in terms of what we want to foster. And then here we have the practical part of the stages and all. Does that make sense?
That sounds good.
I like that.
Maybe you can just do it and we can read through it.
Okay, so basically what I'm saying is copy this and drop it here. Sort of like this, with any tweaking necessary. And then we would completely scratch this part because it's duplicated. Have a thumbs up. Thoughts?
Yeah, I like it because, incubation cycle is implemented by the framework emphasizes this and does this, and then this is how you would go through the process. Seems natural to go in that order.
Cool. Any objections? Yeah, let's start.
Good to me.
Yeah. Good, thanks. Someone's going to need to accept this, the suggestions that I'm doing. Read text, please. And I think we can clear mostly everything. Tim and Neil, is this relevant still?
I'm going to add that to the review process.
Okay.
In just a moment. It's the internal Intersect doc review.
Okay.
So I apologize. I forgot that piece there.
Okay. Let's crack on because time is moving on. Sebastian, is there anything you want to add here? Maybe voice this.
Sure. In the moment that that I was good in the moment. I don't know today, to be honest, because I did this in long time ago.
Yeah, November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The
because I
difference,
checked the document entirely in that time. So
Mhm.
I don't know.
so
Maybe
it's the difference between Cardano's open source standards and Intersect's open source standards, and they're not the same. So should it be Intersect focused rather than
sure.
Cardano?
Yeah. Okay. But that was my opinion in that moment.
Mhm.
Maybe and in those days we didn't talk about it
Mhm.
with the today we have more clarity about it, right? We are talking about, okay, maybe some people don't want to, some teams don't want to share some values from Intersect and all that stuff, but um, okay, it's more clear, right? It's more clear. People can share some values from some Intersect values. Some MBOs can share partially some values and some others not, right?
Right.
Yes.
But in this case, I think maybe who basically authored this, mainly authored this, was it Christian or?
Yeah.
So would you agree that maybe it's simpler if we just refer to Intersect here? Or
Well, I think he was saying he's sort of reneged a bit on that because we've got to the point where we know that not everybody's project's going to have to come into the Intersect repository wheelhouse or fully align with. So it might be a wider
okay.
net than just Intersect.
Yeah, I mean, you do have two focuses, which is this incubation program is clearly Intersect's remit. This is what we control, open source governance stuff. But I think our open source strategy is a little bit more than Intersect's repos, even though it's kind of condensed to that. It's
Yeah.
kind of best practice reference, right?
But respect to that, in respect to my comment there, I think Cardano is the Cardano governance is superior from the Intersect governance, because at the end of the day, Intersect has a strong control over the treasury, right? So maybe the general values can be on top of the specific values from a specific institution.
Yeah.
So my opinion is the same. My opinion is the same.
Maybe we just clarify that it's Intersect then.
Okay.
That way
Yeah.
there's no confusion between the two.
The thing is, like, because we're starting, neither of these are very clearly defined, and which one is more broad and etc. So let's stick with Intersect.
But
It's the one we control more. Yeah.
but Cardano is by principle the standard.
Yeah.
Right? The standard. So I don't know why we can build different governance principles for Intersect and for Cardano in general. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a federal law versus state law kind of thing. So.
Yeah, but I prefer Cardano Cardano be the standard for this, what we are doing in this moment with these programs.
Okay. Any objections to keeping it at Cardano then? I'm good either way because they're going to be very, very overlapping or similar. So I'm just gonna ask. Well, maybe I can take this box and let's move on. Here, text pointed out this seems extra. Maybe we can move on as well. But anyone want to speak to this, or should I just approve it or discard it?
What is meant by seems extra, like unnecessary word?
Maybe
Correct.
he was saying we could remove this part, right? Text.
Test
No,
their ideas.
just the word foundational is all I'm saying. It seems extra.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a redundant thing. Yeah.
Okay, let's cut it. Thank you. And moving on.
Yeah, feel free to remove that. ChatGPT did help me with the original piece of this before I revised it.
Mm-hmm.
AI for the win.
Sorry. Any thoughts on this part? Maybe it's a bit too explicit and we don't need to mention it at this stage, right?
Initial step.
It's not always in the README. I mean,
Hmm.
even the core projects are kind of different in that way.
Mhm.
So that's why I had it separate.
Okay, so it's noted and we prefer to keep it like that. So text.
Text.
Yeah, if you refresh there, Lucas, you should have direct edit access. So you can
Okay,
just go through
super.
and
Thank you so much.
you bet.
Still loading. Okay, there we go. So again, we're just clearing all the comments and everything we had, and I want to go through it. I'm not sure exactly how many we have. Let me just have a look, just to educate the pace, because we don't have that much time. So, okay,
Pick one. States or defines the project purpose. Describes was a third suggestion. Describes is more neutral
Yes.
and fun.
Okay,
What do
I would
people
go
think of
with
describes?
describes. Describes okay?
Works for me.
Good, thank you. Then here we have yeah, I think we're missing a link there, right?
OSC governance chart policy. Yeah, I'll forget that hyperlink.
You say again?
I'm dropping it in the chat for you.
Okay, thank you so much. By the way, I'm just going to take a peek. It's a simple thing. And the main. And I'll add it in, okay? So this is okay. That part. Security practices as well, right? Or maybe not. Because wasn't this saying that projects need to establish their security practices? So this wouldn't be a case where this wouldn't be a link, right?
Yeah,
They're
it
just-
needs
they're-
to. Go ahead, Jack.
Well, they're defining their own, but is there like a reference again that they can work from to try and, best practice up and then redefine based on their own project?
Yeah, this is something we gotta coordinate also with the Security Council about like what the set standard should be for projects or recommended best practice. They're still trying to review that because there is the open source security foundation best practices, and I've run our projects through there based on their scorecard, and there's a lot of misalignment between how that's scored. And I brought in the guy who runs that program, the Security Council, to educate us on practice with that. So I would like to keep the word established because nothing's grounded other than that we have a security MD if you have escalations. I mean,
In this case,
outside
though,
the
just to clarify, we don't need to link because we're just asking them to set up some type of initial
Mhm.
security practice.
yeah.
So maybe we can just have a note to eventually improve this and include a link to reference document. Yeah. Should I add a comment here, or maybe we just make a note on the side ourselves, right?
Yeah, because I think that's the other thing too. In the incubation, we just want to make sure they have something going versus necessarily dictating what they specifically do. They just have to meet a standard, right? I think that's
If this is the
respectable enough to
incubation
autonomy.
phase. At a growth or maturity phase, then this is going to change over to applying the Intersect standard.
Yeah, I think it's sensible. I'm still trying to evaluate how we best do that. I'm not a security SME, just really good at facilitation.
Okay, so I'll leave that one there, but I don't think it prevents us from ratifying the document.
Yeah, I think it just needs SC input.
Just in general, I've put a link here for the Open Source Security Foundation article from 2023 about best practices for enhanced security for open source software, and it references different existing standards that exist. I don't know if that's useful or not, but there it is.
Oh, that's exactly what I was grading us against. I'll actually share with y'all the scorecard analysis that I did just on the core Cardano repos, because there's a lot to be desired on that.
That's where we did that's the basis of the maturity assessment from last year, and that's where we, in some technicalities, failed, but we just barely passed, basically, based on the growth initiatives.
Actually,
So,
it
what
was sad enough that I tried to do it based off the scorecard, because that's what most foundations do, is they just adopt the OpenSSF's security standards as the incubation criteria. We didn't hit a lot of those standards, so we had to custom tailor our maturity pilot to just basic open source engagement practice. And we even got a 60% on that. So we got a D, but it wasn't an F. It was by 0.1%. So.
Okay.
Once we get through the hard fork, Security Council will address that matter.
I'm not sure exactly if Alex was suggesting that we improve this here, like adding a point just for concise statement, so just to define a bit what the vision is. But I think this point already implies that the project needs to formalize and state their problem solving and all that.
Yeah, I would definitely align that. Alex is probably looking at it from more of a what needs to happen perspective, as opposed to a guiding policy, which is what this is.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We can't write a mission statement and tell people to accept it, or vision, or whatever. They just have to create that on their own. This is a guide to say you should have this, and this is what you focus on creating.
Okay, so I'm just going to take this one and one.
I got a question about our security rating. Is it as bad as like some of the Fortinet stuff? Like, usernames with
No, it's like 7 out of 10, 9 out of 10. The ones that were bad were the Adrestria repos, were like we had a 4 out of 10, something like that. But the other thing is it wasn't able to run a perfect scan, so there's caveats to the numbers. I'm trying to find that doc for you.
Anyway, we're going out of scope with this meeting, but I'm just interested in how bad our security is.
Well, it's a great opportunity for me to present once again that one of the initial parts of this is the documentation piece. So the fact that we do have missing documentation across nearly every single core repository is a big factor. And despite my issues and even PRs on some of them, the developers are just not paying attention. So
yeah, man, it's been a regular frustration for me as an outsider coming in and learning to figure out things and grow my understanding. So yep, I've been frustrated by that lack of doc.
I shared the link of it there for you.
That's on screen.
Now, do keep in mind this was done in like April last year, so things have probably changed since then. But definitions to how the scan tool works is on the tab there.
Oh, this will be an afternoon of interest.
Yeah, it gets the worst are the ones on the very far right. Yeah, when you get to the.
I think that's the world's opinion in a lot of cases. But
Okay.
But yeah, this is something that I wanted to address sometime this year, as soon as we get through all the fundamentals.
That's cool. Preview of what's to come, improving security.
Just Sheets Geek tip. We would suggest that you fix these, that you make these fixed, the two columns, so that when we scroll right, we don't lose track of what line we're on. In terms of, I'm not sure if this happens when I'm not commenting only, but
Let me see if I can freeze those two.
yeah, just drag that little thing to the right. Anyway, I'm going to make a note of this document. It's on the chat. It's going to be in the meeting notes, but we need to move on. Otherwise, we're not going to get to
Yeah.
ratify the thing. I'm just going to make a note here. Okay, and closing it. Yeah, I see. Thanks, Christian. See that now it's a lot easier to navigate. Cheers. Okay, so here Alex was saying either remove well organized as self-relevant or provide reference to what is well organized. Remove version control. Any thoughts?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, we do have what we could do for this is provide like the standard format repository that people could fork and create from scratch, whatever their code base is for their project, i.e. just having a basic template for contributing MD, README, etc. Something like that. That might be the solution there.
I'm always a fan of templates to work from. Yeah.
I know there's a couple that open source foundations have, but I would like a little more flavor there for guiding principles than they provide. So,
but is this realistic? Like when we get to this stage, projects already have code, no?
yeah, potentially. And
Right.
it could be they just need to add a specific MD file that they don't have. And there's a template to pull from potentially.
You don't always have to fork it, as you're saying, and start from scratch. You can just take some as a reference and then add what you need to. Or yeah.
Okay, so how do I feel
There's
like
also,
we're not going to get to rectify this today.
Is well organized, is structured better, or is it just not needed at all? Just code repository.
Alex's point was basically it's all subjective if it's well organized and structured and everything, and maybe we can remove the well organized, but we need to provide that example, right?
maybe easy to navigate's a better word.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would remove well organized. I think I might leave it that way, but add the word accessible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Version control.
And the version control comment.
You can remove it.
I think we leave version control.
Okay.
I guess it's a personal mission, but I'm not a huge fan of the many different versions of change logs, and I'm working diligently through my efforts of document updates to make sure that there's, again, an accessible version of that, an accessible
here,
format.
I'm gonna add. Thank you, Tex. I'm sorry.
Nope, you're good.
So here as well, it's the same type of comment. Repo is the right word. Demo repo example.
The idea is that the one that is open source office be our demo repo to show off to anybody. So I would encourage, although you might think OSC documentation better applies, that backs up our knowledge base. So I would suggest to all of you at any point that you want to go and look at something or suggest a change to what our templates look like, go to the open source office repo. That's going to be our shining star, if you will, or our golden child of what things should or could look like.
If it's going to be that, do you mind removing the untitled document that I put in root earlier this meeting?
What's that?
The document that I accidentally created in the root of the repository, or well, no, that was in Drive. That wasn't the repository. Never mind.
Okay, guys, just checkpoint on where we are. I don't think it's realistic to think we're going to finish this today, but yeah, let's push a bit further, or maybe let's zoom out to check if we
Are
have
there
any.
any other items? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to, I was in the Intersect steering committee call. I just wanted to FYI and keep everyone in the loop. The marketing working group used to be under MCC. They're proposing to become a committee on its own. And hopefully that will include as well. Yesterday I was also on the hubs working group, and they're already trying to bridge that into the marketing committee. There would be the marketing committee. So I'm not sure exactly how this can be useful to you or to the OSC, but I felt like it's important to keep everyone in the loop because hopefully we're going to be internal providers of services to each other, right? So, yeah. Any thoughts?
I found out about this recently, and one of the more cynical members of the community talked about the percentage of representation of Rare Evo within this new committee and the influence they may have in directions for funding on certain marketing strategies, given their existence and history in the ecosystem. I don't know. People are skeptical
Yeah.
about such things. I don't know. I just repeating what I heard. Very much hearsay at this moment.
So without taking up meeting time, if you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to myself. I'm directly working with the establishment of this committee. The truth of the decision is that we were given pre-approval, basically assume that it's approved and get things bootstrapped. Final approval will come at the next ISC meeting with an official TOR and name for the committee. But just for additional reference as well, I was reading through one of their strategy documents that they put together, and they had the word developer mentioned 89 times. No, I'm not joking. So there's quite a bit of concern that way to try and figure out what they're looking at. But again, since I'm directly involved with it, there's going to be a lot of things where I'm refocusing, like, hey, you said you want to do this, you got to do some co-committee work here. So some stuff goes to MCC, some stuff goes to OSC, but they were digging deeper into the developer side when all they needed to focus on was just how do we market and support what the developer piece is looking at. So anyway, I could talk to you all day about it, but not now.
So overall, I think the reason why I wanted to open this sort of Pandora's box, we've been like close, or at least I've been focusing more on the open source side. And I think that if Intersect is to succeed, everyone needs to be working together. So product, committee, and everything else. So I really encourage anyone to keep an eye on what's being done elsewhere. For example, we have some budget for events by developer experience, developer advocates, and we could benefit from eventually articulating with the marketing committee. So yeah, please keep an eye on other things, on other chats, drop by other calls as well. So what I'll do as well is try to I'll drop this. Is this okay to drop on Discord before we close it?
I think it's open to comments for everybody. Yes.
Okay.
So anybody with the link can comment. Yes. Free to share.
Okay. Very important for this document, I think, is the contextualization of the slides, this workflow diagram. So I'll maybe link both of the documents, although it's included there.
Yeah.
I'll link it on the Discord main channel and ask for contributions from anyone and any members of Intersect. And coming back to the other one, the contribution letter, this one, we didn't get to ratify it either, right? So
Conditional approval, I think, right?
Sorry?
I think it was a conditional approval.
Testing phase. Yeah, make sure we
Okay,
understand.
okay.
Well, with you abstaining, we don't have a voting quorum, so it needs to be an async vote.
That's fair.
Okay. Let's do
Okay.
that.
But the vote itself would be to move to testing or not.
Yes, and that's what I'll write that up in the Discord channel, and I'll just make it open. I
Okay.
say open. I will only count committee member votes, but I don't think there's an issue with us sharing that vote publicly unless anybody here raises a concern that way.
Okay. So Tex, if you drop this one on Discord, I'll drop the other one, and let's really try to. I'll try to drop some messages to get more people engaged in the OSC and working on documents. And yeah, that's all we have time for today, right?
So,
And I will have the OSO detail stuff for the next session. I just want to make sure we had time to focus on these two.
Okay. I'll be in touch with the guys, with Christian and Dex. Also, I have some ideas about creating maybe a landing page or something to promote open source in Cardano, and maybe to serve as a liaison so that anyone from outside of Cardano can see that we have this mission. Because obviously we have the docs, but just committees / intersects on Gitbook is not enough to share. If you want, like any devs from any other industries, some flagship type of page. But when I looked at this idea, I thought it's probably going to align with hackathons and bug bounties and a number of other things. So I'm going to think about that before presenting a proposal. Okay.
I love the idea.
Okay. Great stuff, guys. Sorry for taking a minute too long.
Yeah.
Take care.
If y'all also have ideas for how to improve the website on Intersect under open source, feel free to throw those ideas across. I'll get
Okay.
Lorenzo to update. I'm trying to draft up ideas right now.
Okay. Cheers.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
See you.
See you guys. Bye.